Thanks for that.
Okay, Karen, thanks a million. Your recording is in progress.
Yeah, I got the message. Hi, everyone. My name is Karen Burke. I am a science and maths teacher currently working with Microsoft, and I help support our programs. So we have a number of different programs, I suppose, that we roll out and that we roll out to our schools. Now, I don't think that quite worked, so I'm going to click that again.
We can see the screen there, Karen.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, we have everything perfect.
So I'm going to take you through a couple of the various programs. I'm not going to mention the very two on the right, which is a Showcase School and an MIE trainer. You can reach out to me directly if you want to learn more about them. But I'm going to talk about, I suppose, our educator programs, which are MIE and our MIEE, and they're related. So hence the reason we're going to go through them today. I am hoping to take you through kind of all the various bits in it so that at the end you're like, actually, I can do this. This is the right program for me. If you've ever any questions and you want to reach out to me directly, either about the MIE or MIEE program, you reach out to me on Twitter, or in general, anything. If you're looking for support around teaching and learning, I'm usually good at getting back to you in a fairly timely manner. And I have an email address at the end. So today we're going to cover the two educator programs, or MIE and MIEE, and have some questions and answers, and hopefully have us all wrapped up within about 45 minutes. And you can reference these slides when you're looking through it. Our first program is the Microsoft Innovative Educator. And I suppose just explaining what that is. It's the initial program in which educators, I suppose, empower themselves by completing some CPD on their own, or else they've been part of a whole school CPD and they've been given a code to redeem. So when you become a Microsoft Innovative Educator, you get this badge here. But I'm going to touch on this because things have moved, things have migrated in the last month. So it looked like this up to now, but I think in the future it's going to be a circular badge, but you'll get this little badge. All you have to do to achieve this is, if you're brand new to this, you're going to join Microsoft Learn, which is the replacement for the Microsoft Educator Center, and you're going to complete 2 modules of training. Or in the past, or in kind of if you've been dipping your toe in this before, you would have done 2 hours of training on the Educator Center. And I'm going to go through these in kind of a more forensic level of detail, because this is a science teacher coming out at me. But what does that mean? It means my screen is too large. So Microsoft Learn and Microsoft Educator Center are 2 locations for kind of self-directed CPD. Or if you're a school leader or you're the ICT coordinator, there are also places where people in your school can go to empower themselves. This is the Microsoft Educator Center, and this is moving to Microsoft Learn. And the reason for that is, at the moment, this is just stuff relating to education, but if you wanted to learn a little bit more about other various programs or dig deeper into the use of programs, you had to go somewhere else. So that didn't make sense. I'm calling this out for one specific reason, because if you have been doing courses on Microsoft Educator Center, this is going to disappear. So it's really important that you go there now, log in, as I have here, and click the Visit Learn Educator Center. And it's going to pop this up, and it's basically asking you, can we take all your amazing achievements, all your badges, all your record of your CPD, and migrate it to the new platform? You're just going to hit continue, and it's going to do it in the background. So when I click on here, you'll see that I didn't have to sign in here. It just did it for me automatically. So to become a certified MIE, you must have completed 2 hours of training on the Educator Center or 2 modules on Learn for Educator. So any of these courses that you might do. I'm a huge, passionate fan of the Educator Center. are Microsoft Learn for Educators, because this is where I empowered myself. So yes, I was in a showcase school, but sometimes the CPD we're doing is for the whole school. I had a second level, ordinary level maths class struggling with the reading. So I was like, I need to go and find something that can support them. I went on there, I looked up accessibility, and I found the immersive reader, and that kind of changed it for me. So again, it's always worth a look, if that makes sense, if you're looking for how to improve your use of an application or anything like that. But if you've completed 2 hours on the Educator Center or 2 modules of training on Microsoft Learn, you will get your first badge. I'm going to caveat this and say, if you do 2 modules on Microsoft Learn, that badge might not appear for 48 hours. So don't panic. But again, if it doesn't appear, get on to me and I will take you through that support system to make sure we get it recognized. The reason that this is important is this is the prerequisite to become a Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert. So this is the initial step and one of the prerequisites that you are required to do. After that, or I suppose alongside that, if you're new to this, is you can move on and become a Microsoft Innovative Educator Expert. I'm going to say, I don't think anyone probably in Ireland came up with the title, because if you're anyone like me, and most people I know, they're like, hate the term expert, and I train people, but I still never say, oh, I'm an expert in this. This is a globally recognized program. And what I mean by that is, this is a global community, professional learning community of teachers. And when you look at, I suppose, the high quality of teaching and learning that's happening in Ireland, and the high quality of teaching and learning that's happened over the last 2 years in terms of our use of technologies, you have to recognize that we are in the global stakes very much them experts, or them the leaders in the use of technology. So if you're here tonight and if you're using the technologies, this is the right program from you, and don't let its title kind of put you off. So as I said, anyone who's here tonight, they're looking to be that force for change, or they're looking to be that force that helps develop their teaching and their students' experience. This is very much the right program for you. You're that probably self-driven because you're here tonight, you're resourceful, you're passionate, you're open to learning, and you're open to sharing. And that is what our MIE community is, a group of teachers who are passionate about sharing, trying things out, and learning from our mistakes. So a little bit of that reflective practitioner. What is an MIE expert? They're a teacher who likes to use technology, but not as a tool to replace something. It's a tool to, I suppose, further develop or further support. They're happy to learn things. They may often be providing coaching or mentoring to teachers in their own school, and that could be formal. That's me standing up doing something like this, or it could be the person we drop into and go, we're really struggling with this. How do I set up a quiz in Teams or something? It doesn't have to be the person who's leading the whole school CPD on this. Now, I suppose alongside that, we'll see that they're open to failure and learning from this, and that you'll see a role. You can see the place where this will have in terms of becoming a member of that global professional learning community, but also a local professional learning community. So our MIE expert community here would meet up regularly online. Before COVID, we even got to meet up in real life and got to go to places like Microsoft Place in Dublin, or some of our MIE experts would have gone on to represent Ireland or their schools at local, European or world stages. So that's an MIE expert, but you're ticking the boxes if you're being here today. I definitely say I wouldn't be the teacher I am without it, because it gave me tools to develop myself. It also gave me the connections to connect with educators around the world and see what they're doing, and see if I could take that into my own classroom. We're getting on to the nomination, which is probably why most of you are here. It's opening at the end of this week, so from May 15th to July 7th. My big tip, because I fall victim of this before, if it's not done by the time I'm on school holidays, I am struggling to get it done. So my tip would be try and get working on this over the next week or two, because if you're anyone like me, you'll be sitting there going, oh, I need to do that, but mind has left school as such. Where you go to nominate yourself is aka.ms/MIE nomination, and you will be getting the PowerPoint, so don't worry, you don't need to take that down. The process, and this is very much it. Step 1, convert your profile to Learn. Step 2, be a MIE or certified MIE, that is that you've completed the 2 hours of training. And 3, complete the self-nomination process. And I'm going to go through the steps that are required for this. So that is why at the start, I just wanted to show you how we can convert our profile to Learn and where we can go and find our achievements. The self-nomination process, there's a couple of key points. An educator is anyone who basically is supporting the learning and development of others. It could be the school leader, it could be the principal, it could be the deputy, it could be a classroom teacher, it could be a special needs assistant. It's anyone, it's a very broad term here, but anyone who supports teaching, learning, and I suppose the development of others. And your learner, again, dependent on your role, could be the student, it could be the teacher, or it could be your colleague. So I suppose don't think, oh, I can't do that because I'm not in that role. It's open to absolutely everyone. And my last step is get a buddy. So if you're here tonight and you're the only person from your school, this is always nice to have someone doing it alongside you, with you. So you can work through your applications together, you know, use each other as a sounding board, discuss it, and at the end, you both will nominate separately. So work together as a bit of teamwork, but it's a bit like the assignment. You're both going to hand up your own assignment. It's not cheating. This is actually recommended, and it's great for the school because it promotes, I suppose, a deeper reflection of what's going on within school. And it's great, you know, even to make your school leader aware of, you know, actually we're doing all these great and amazing things. That's that. Helpful suggestion is there is a page with every single question that we're going to look through today, that will help you plan it. I work through it, and this is why I recommend and have it all together, all my answers ready to go. So when it comes to actually doing my nomination, it's a matter of either copying and pasting, or, you know, oh, I ticked this box and I ticked that box. And that really speeds up the process, and also means that I found is that I'm more likely to sit down and actually complete the nomination process because I have everything ready. And when it comes to that, that only takes a couple of minutes. So we're going to go through the questions right now, and it is broken up into 3 different phases. And I'm actually going to go over to this document to take you through it. Phase 1, you'll see all these lovely questions here. And if I was really on the ball, I could even pop them in the chat for you to have a look now. The questions are broken up into 3 different phases. So you can see here, the deadline is from May 15th to the end of the day in LA on July 7th. But again, I would definitely recommend that you try and get it done sooner rather than later. If you're anyone like me, if you're the kind of person that'll be like, oh yeah, I'll be in doing exams or, you know, helping out, maybe you can extend it. But I know I'm the kind of person who walked out of a school and left my laptop behind me and didn't realize that until the following August. So again, it is broken up into three sections. The first section is learning a little bit about you. This is absolutely no implication or anything. It's just, who are you? So it's information about your name, your school email, your address, what do you teach, who do you teach? Is this a showcase school? Is it not? This has absolutely none of these questions have any implication, doesn't affect your application at all. It's just, I suppose, giving that information about you. And the really nice thing about that is, because when it comes and you are an MIE expert, is you'll be able to, you know, find people that teach similar subjects. You'll be able to even make connections there and make your, I suppose, that circle a little bit wider. And there's questions here about students using technology. Again, this is just, I suppose, learning a little bit about you. At the very end, you are asked to share your social media handles if you have them. If you don't, doesn't matter. The other tip I would say about this is I personally have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Actually, I have a YouTube channel, but I didn't when I was teaching. But I don't share anything that's like, it's my private Facebook, it's my private Instagram. None of that goes in here. I have a Twitter handle that I have a Twitter page that I use in terms of developing myself and connecting with others. I put that in. I don't put in any of my personal stuff. So again, simply share something there. If you have it, if you don't have it, it's no implication of it. And that's everything to do with the social media. And then again, there's some questions here. You're a member of other groups. It's just learning a little bit more about you. Now, this question here, and I'm going to caveat this because if you do it before the Microsoft Educator Center depreciates. So basically, if you do this in the next couple of days, because I was doing this today to see, this is in fact 2 different questions. So, and I'm just going to explain what it is. At the moment, it actually asks you for your transcript on the Microsoft Educator Center. So what I'm going to do is explain what that is. If we go back here, this is my Educator Center. This is my profile. And what I need to do is when I've done my courses and got my badge, we need to be able to see that. So you have an option to go to my profile. And here you'll see, now this is my demo account, don't worry, I don't only have 3 done. But this is my transcript. This is a record of the CPD I've done. And this is actually great to stick in, I suppose, a folder at school if you've WC, if you want to say the words coming up or anything like that. You're going to be asked to put in your transcript. So what that means is, and how you do this is you click View Transcripts. This opens up as a PDF. And you then save it. Save it anywhere. You can see I was practicing this. You practice this PDF or download that file. You then need to place this file somewhere that is accessible by someone like me who works for Microsoft, so that I can see your great transcript and see your great CPD. If you're working in a school and you can't share outside of your school, you might need to put it somewhere. But the big tip I would say is if you open a in private window or incognito window and put the link of where that document is stored, if it doesn't open for you there, it means I won't be able to see it, or a member of the team won't be able to see it. So just make sure it's placed somewhere. For the time being, until Microsoft Learn or Educator Center is fully gone, that's going to be there. And that's because when it comes to it, we need to be able to just see all the great work you've done. The other question that's there is, have you taken any courses on Microsoft Learn? And actually it asks you how many, but it's just briefly give a quick count, and don't be spending time counting them. Like ballpark figure is fine. It asks you to share your URL to your public profile. What that means is I've signed in here to learn. This is the same demo account. If I click on this little person, this little icon, I can click profile, and this is me. Now this is a demo account, as I said to you, but that is my link here. So docs, Microsoft, that URL there is it, and I would simply copy and paste that and paste it in there, if that makes sense. So I suppose that's the only one you might have to take a little bit of care with, is make sure that you've uploaded your transcript, if that's still there when you do it, or in the case of Microsoft Learn, that you're uploading your URL. I would say categorically, applications, we're always bowled over by them. It's so frustrating, I think, sometimes when people do the hard work, but they've forgot to attach things, or they've put them somewhere people can't see them. So it's worth checking, or even sending the link to a buddy and going, actually, will you just see, can you see that? And if they're in the same school, saying, will you log in incognito or something just to see it? So that's section 1, which is just learning a little bit about you, and you upload your profile as in you upload your transcript or your profile. If you have any questions like that, reach out to me directly on Twitter or email. I will talk you through it if needed. Don't be worrying about that. Section 2 is the machined learning scored questions. These are questions that ask you about your knowledge of the products. So, you know, do you know what the immersive reader does? Or, you know, do you get to use some of these things? First question here it'll ask you is, have you completed many modules on Microsoft Learn Education Center? If it's a case like me, when I was doing it today, most of my courses, most of my badges are actually still over on MEC. Just count up your total. So if you know, if you've 7 here or 3 there, that's a 10. And that's what I'd say. So just kind of be conscious of that. Other things then, it's asking you how often do you use them? No one is actually going to sit in there checking. And then the other thing I'd say is, you know, if you're using things maybe 3 times in a week, that's pretty, like, that's more daily than it is weekly. Or if you've done new CPD at Easter, and since that, you know, you're using forms, you weren't really using it before, and you're using it now like once a week, or you're using it several times a week, only focus on that. So don't be thinking of it as a whole year process. Look at your usage and say, how often am I getting to use some of this? If you're not a STEM teacher, don't worry. Again, this isn't all. I suppose that bit might be relevant if you're an English and French teacher, for example. How often do you use these features? So how often do you present? You know, do you save it? Do you get students to rehearse? It's just asking you about it, about your usage. And you might even see that there's something there that you didn't get to see. But again, it's just kind of be very general. Don't be sitting there and overthinking this. And the same for this. I have never used a Flipgrid live event because they're not on my time zone. So you know what I mean? Don't worry about that. It's just flick down through it. You then get to a couple of questions about your knowledge of the immersive reader in this case. So there's a quick tip. If there are boxes, you tick the ones that apply. So there's might be more than one correct answer. So the immersive reader, I am the kind of person as well, I would say that I find when a question like this is put to me, I'll actually open the immersive reader and go, well, does it capture a video? No, it doesn't. So I won't tick that one. Because you can overthink this. And I did this today. I overthought breakout rooms, one of the questions, but literally just, it's as easy just to open it and practice it as such. And then you're not confused. So if it's a square box here, there's more than one right answer. If it is a solid dot, that means it's which one is the correct answer, if that makes sense. So these ones, again, it's asking you, what can teams do? When do you do formative assessment? What can you do in forms like this? I'd open forms and literally say, can I do multiple choice? Can I do a ranking question? Can the person input text? Can I do a Likert scale? And very quickly, you'll see which ones you can do. And then the very last question is, what is the correct order to create a breakout rooms in Teams? And that this is not the correct order. This one, it's a load of drop downs, and as you start to populate it, they'll disappear. This is the one I overthought today. So definitely, for myself now, especially for everybody in school, I'd make a call and just set up a breakout room, because it's so much easier when you're not. Well, that's if you're like me. If you know these off the top of your head, you might be like, this grand, but I know I was overthinking this and getting bogged down. That's the middle section. So these are kind of the questions is testing to see, do you know how the products, what they can do. And you might actually equally find that actually didn't know that was there, and it's a great way to learn a little bit more. After that, there are 5 long answer questions, one of which is not a long answer question. I will say with these, and I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint with these are reviewed by the Microsoft Education team here in Ireland. We're all teachers, which is a great thing. So you're just kind of telling one teacher to another a couple of things. Feel free to use bullet points and really just highlight the main points. Like I always say, some teacher will be like trying to explain what they're doing in terms of assessment, but if you're talking to another teacher, you wouldn't. So just quick few bullet points on what you're doing. There is a character limit on this. It has to be a minimum of 500, a maximum of 2000. And I suppose to put that into context, that's about 2 tweets to 8 tweets in length. And, you know, there's not a lot of information in 2 tweets. And you will have teachers who upload the 500 characters and, you know, it works for them, as in you don't need to use all 2000. So please feel free to not say, well, I have to use all that. This is not like, it's not like a college essay and you're going to be minimum, or, you know, what's the word, penalized for being less than 200. It's just a brief outline of what you're doing. The very first question you are asked, and I'm just going to skip forward a bit here on my PowerPoint, is, oh, my other tip of these is, this is one where you might like to show to someone else in your school and go, do you think, you know, this looks right, that this makes sense to you? That's always helpful. The first question is, describe how you leverage Microsoft tools to increase the accessibility of your classroom. So what I'd say about this is any of the tools which are there to support accessibility. I've a couple mentioned there: the immersive reader, dictate, accessibility checker, translation, because I know a lot of our students now, a lot of schools are dealing with students from, I suppose, multiple countries now. Anything there that you are doing. So it might be like, my students will use the immersive reader to read aloud. My students will dictate their answers. They use it, whatever. You know, you're just very briefly mentioning. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about the accessibility, there's actually a really good course on the Educator still, but that is going to move to Learn, but it'll still be called the same thing. And it's called the Inclusive Classroom, Finding the Correct Learning Tools. And at the end of this Word document, just to call this out, it also has a list of suggested links that will help support you with your answers. So that's one. And again, it's between 500 to 2000 characters, just explaining what you're doing. Or, you know, things that you've promoted to your students. I only chose 3 there, but that's just to make sure the slide looked okay. The second question is, you're asked to tell us about a series of lessons, a unit or a project that your students have done, which incorporates the Microsoft technology to improve your learning outcomes, and what 21st century skills were included. Junior cycle is perfect for this because our key skills in junior cycle really map towards a 21st century skills. So knowledge construction, self-regulation, communication, collaboration. These are the things our students do. So you might be telling me about a couple of lessons that your students did. In my case, it might even be your CBA, if that makes sense. So a couple of lessons your students have been working on a project or something. The project doesn't have to be like a substantial piece of work. It could be just that they were working on putting together a presentation, or they could have been working on creating a video or something, or even a document. It's just some little series of lessons that your students were working on. Again, between 500 to 2000 characters, a couple of quick bullet points, explaining to another teacher what you did, and what 21st century skills were included. So, you know, they were doing a project together, they used collaboration, they communicated with each other, that kind of thing. The next question is, and this is another one where you have to put a link somewhere where someone can access it. So you're going to put in a link to an example of a learning artifact. So that is something that someone produced. So that could be the PowerPoint that the students did. It could be a video that they've made. It could be the Word document that they made. It could be a OneNote page. After OneNote, though, you'll have to screen clip it. If that makes sense, you just have to take a picture of it. Or it could be a sway or anything. You can just include an image of it. It doesn't actually have to be the thing itself. But you're putting in that artifact somewhere where I can basically just click in and see it, or someone else on the team can click in and see it. Some people, and I will say this, put their artifact in a folder, put their transcript in the folder, and share the link to the folder for the 2 things, if that makes sense, and have one labeled as transcript and one linked, one labeled as the artifact. The next long question is that you just describe what's in the artifact. So it might be that presentation your students have done. I suppose I'm overthinking this, but you're just describing what was done, what technologies that they used, and how it met it. So, you know, it might be that they used PowerPoint, they used Edge, they might even have had an embedded form, they might have had videos. You're just saying what technology were used and how they were or how they completed their learning objectives. This is definitely not a thing that's worth overthinking. You know, it's very much you just describing what they have done. I will say, just because of like GDPR and data protection, please don't share, you know, your students' names, if that's okay. If you want, like, a first name is okay, obviously, because you couldn't be identified from that, but just for yourself, I suppose, just bear that in mind. And then the last question, and like, this is it, and this is why it shouldn't take that long, hopefully, is to share 2 examples how you supported your own learning and the learning and growth of your colleagues, and describe it. Really important, I would say, to remember that this does not have to be the formal, this does not have to be someone giving a presentation. The support that you're providing to the, you know, your teachers in your department, or even the teachers next door, is so valuable, because that's, I suppose, what helps drive whole school change and whole school support. So it could be that, it could be something that you shared in a departmental meeting, or you could have been a person who's presented at I suppose, the whole school level or even beyond. But I suppose don't minimize one over the other. They're all equally as important. And then your own growth and development, it could be doing some self-directed CPD. This tonight is you know, you supporting your own growth and development, but you're just describing that. 2 examples of each, and that is the application process. It sounds worse than it is, and that's me being honest. It looks like, when you see the Word document, it looks like it's an awful lot in it, but in reality, it's a couple of questions asking you about your knowledge. You know, what can we do with the immersive reader? And then there's a couple of long answer questions. When it comes to it, I have my long answers ready in a Word document, and I simply copy and paste them in, and use this as an opportunity for me to reflect on my own practice, what I'm doing that's really good in my classroom. Before this process, it used to be a sway, and you'd have to do that. But it's great at this time of the year, because you get to reflect on what's, you know, going on in your classroom, what's really good, and even what you might be able to share in your department or even across your school next year. That is the application process. I would say I have the best advice I would say is have your questions kind of pre-prepared, have your long answers pre-prepared. You can work with your buddies, you can work through this together, make sure that you're both happy. You've to upload a link, and make sure that link is accessible outside of your school. Yeah, school organization, and that's it. And don't get me wrong, I know this takes time. I'm doing my own at the moment, so I'm conscious of that. I'm preparing for the 15th. But if you're looking for any advice, or you're not sure of anything, you can reach out to me at my mseduirl@microsoft.com, or directly on Twitter. And I'll work with you. Don't worry. It's not something, if you're on your own in school and you're just looking for a bit of support, please feel free to reach out, and I'll be there all summer, unfortunately. So if you're at the person who is more motivated than I to be at this in July, I will be available all through the summer as well to support you. But just before we go, just to make sure that I actually show you this, these are the questions here. And again, as I said, 500 to 2,000, you don't have to do it, but down the bottom, there are a number of links that will support you. So like, unlike me, you might be overthinking it, there's actually a link which takes you through creating and managing breakout rooms. So I would say this document is so good for supporting your application process, and it's great. It's great for you. And if you've got a buddy in the school to like support each other through it. But that's it. I hope I haven't
Karen, thank you so much. That was fantastic. It brought me right back to when I was applying for mine. And to say as well, a great idea is to Google YouTube and just see how do I create breakout rooms in Microsoft, and it'll give you a step by step, so you don't actually have to set it up yourself and do it. But I suppose, you know, it brought me right back to when I was applying for it, and I came at it from a point of view, I wasn't in a classroom, and I was just day to day, had PowerPoints on the go, had Word document, was doing a bit of Excel, I was setting up different Microsoft forms. And I suppose it can be a case that I actually thought, and it was Karen and another colleague that encouraged me to go for it. I thought, oh God, you know, I'm not going to be able to apply for this. Like, I'm not an expert, as Karen said at the very beginning. But, you know, I suppose when we do look at it, we have lots of different things. And even day to day, I help, even today, our secretary came in to me and she said, you might show me how to, I was setting up teams for different groups of people. And she was like, you might show me how to do that. And I suppose that's what this whole initiative is about, is to try and, you know, help each other and to become educators ourselves. And in the application process, you know, I suppose the first step is to go to the education centre and set up your profile and watch one or two little videos. I was heavily involved in SEN, so again, immersive reader was great for me. But there's loads of different things, from leadership, you know, right the way through to teaching methodologies, to using different apps. And they're lovely little videos. Some are short, some are longer, but find ones that are relevant to you, and it starts the ball rolling. And if you have your 2 hours done, then the form itself only takes, literally, I was about an hour doing it. The first few questions are all tick the box. Some of them I struggled with when I was filling it in, but you know, I just kept plowing through them. And I suppose the end ones, then the language can be a bit off-putting. And Karen, you did a great job of really making it simple. And you know, I remember uploading PowerPoints I had used for different things that I'm involved in. And you know, I hadn't anything more than that. Karen is a lot further down the road than I am. I'm still, you know, busy out trying to use what I am able to do, but I got great confidence from it. And you know, it's lovely to be part of, to get recognition first of all, but to be part of the education community, and you know, to lead the way in your school as well. And there may be no one else, or there may be others that have become MIE experts, and you either join them or you lead the way, which is fantastic as well. But thank you so much, Karen, for everything. I'm going to stop the recording now, and just